In this special replay of the Vacation Rental Formula's weekly office hours, which is only available exclusively to Formula Club members, we're joined by Justin Ford from Breezeway, and this discussion was just too important to keep only for Formula Club members, and it's in regards to short-term rental property safety. So I hope you enjoy this. Please leave comments below and let us know what you think. This is a great message, and we wanted to get it out to you.
Alrighty, welcome everybody. Welcome to another wonderful Wednesday with your favorite crew here at Vacation Rental Formula. I'm your host, Mike Bayer, CEO and co-founder. With me today is Heather, who everybody knows Heather Bayer from the Vacation Rental Success podcast, and also my mum and co-founder of Vacation Rental Formula. And we have a special guest today. We have Mr. Justin Ford, the industry's premier safety expert, as he's fast becoming, from Breezeway. So, Justin, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us today, Justin. Because
last minute.
Yeah, because I wanted to share with everybody what I've just done and my achievement and what I'm going to do with it. So I think it was great to have you on board, because what we're talking about is safety, folks. So hello, Richard. Good to see you. Good to see you, Margarita. Shireen, as ever. Nice to have you here. And Luann, who is probably working, as ever.
Just before you get stuck in, I'm gonna be here in the background. I'm in the middle of doing some mortgage documentation, and as we all know, trying to go through all the paperwork and get it in on time is very challenging. So I'm going to be here in the background. Just give me a shout or a wave if you need my attention. But I'm going to leave you in Heather's and Justin's very capable and safe hands.
Well, I've recently completed the now what do you call it, Justin? Property Management Safety Inspectors course.
It's a labeling that we've come up with. We think it's going to stick. It's called the STRSI course, or Short-Term Rental Safety Inspector course. STRSI.
Okay, Short-Term Rental Safety Inspectors course. I am one now. And I have to say that having gone through the course...
You're certified, you passed.
Having gone through the course, I was just blown away with what I learned from it. So I did the course, I did the exam at the end. I didn't get my 100%, which really irked me. But I went back to Justin. I said, I think some of the questions were ambiguous.
Well, they tell you when you build a course, you're not supposed to make it so that everyone can get 100%. So you're okay. There's a couple tricky ones in there.
Yeah. Yes. The word. I'd like to know which ones actually that I fell down on. So maybe you can feed back to me on that, Jason. See, I'm just going to keep calling you Jason. I'm so sorry, okay. Justin. As everybody knows, our business partner at VRF is Jason, and I talk to him multiple times a day. So it's just in my head. So I thought I knew everything there was to know about safety. I've been inspecting or evaluating properties for our rental management company for 20 years. And I honestly thought, I knew it. And I have advised people on fire extinguishers and CO monitors, and I've recognized where deck railings don't meet our building code. I know that because we had deck railings in a cottage that didn't meet building code and had to replace them. And what else? And I can talk to them about campfires, and I know exactly what the maximum diameter of a campfire should be, and I know they should have water beside it. So there's all those things that I knew. But I have to say, I came away from the course, Justin, with probably thinking that maybe I knew 20% of Is that about right? Is that what you're getting from other managers?
Yeah, we're definitely getting that. And what's really interesting about safety when it applies to short-term rentals is that it's all preventable, and that's not necessarily the case with everything else you do with a short-term rental. You can put 300 thread count sheets in there, and half your renters are going to be happy and half of them are going to be miserable. And you could put in down pillows, and some will be happy, some won't. You do a Sonos stereo system, half of them can figure it out, half of them can't. But when it comes to safety, it's interesting because we all do want to achieve and try and have the best in our short-term rental. And the one thing that's actually obtainable is making a short-term rental so safe that the only reason a renter gets injured is because they didn't tie their shoelaces. And yet we continue to all chase after the things that aren't. And the course that you went through, Heather, and you're referencing, has been built off of all the accidents that are happening. It all comes straight out of the lawsuits. And all these lawsuits are public online if you want to dig into them. People who have too much time on their hands like me actually read them. And the one statement that comes up over and over and over in the judge's decisions, which typically unfortunately go against the homeowner or the property manager, is that the homeowner or property manager had basically the obligation to ensure that the renters had a safe rental experience. And it was on them to make sure that if there wasn't something that was safe or could be addressed that would prevent an accident, that they should have done it. And that's what we built that course to do, is try to address all of those.
Mm-hmm. And, it's very pertinent to me, Justin, because I've mentioned to you that I say we're in the middle of a lawsuit. It's coming up on 2.5 years now. In fact, 3.5 years since the incident happened. 2.5 years since somebody knocked on my door and I was thrust an envelope with those words you never want to hear: "You've been served."
Yeah.
And I'd seen it on TV. And when I opened the door and this guy gives me this envelope and says, "You've been served, and I'm really sorry," I thought, no, you're not meant to say those other words. Nobody ever does that on TV. But I have to say, the adrenaline started to run, and I was in a complete panic when I opened this thing and to see that we were being sued for $1 million, along with the owner, along with everybody that had touched this place, the cleaner, the caretaker, probably the guy who mowed the lawns. Everybody was bundled into this lawsuit. And it was taken on board by an ambulance chasing lawyer, from a sleazy little firm in a strip mall in Toronto. However, it makes absolutely no difference who is, whether it's a frivolous lawsuit, whether you say it will never happen, it's not going to run to anything. It is stressful, it is scary, and without the full liability cover, which we actually have, we have a good E&O policy, which covers us, and we have all our documentation in order, but it doesn't take away the shock of being sued. And, and we don't feel that we were at fault. However, so you can imagine what it's like if there is something that you've been negligent about and that you actually could have done something to prevent the accident that happened. In our situation, it was an old lady who decided not to use the pathway to get to the property. She crossed over a curb and tripped over a curbstone and broke her knee. She was 83 years old. They were suing for loss of income and loss of her ability to do household and do-it-yourself tasks. But it was frivolous, but it's, in retrospect, it may have been preventable. But in fact, the property was new and everything was to code. So it's probably not going to go anywhere, but it is still sitting over our heads 2.5 years later.
Yeah. I have some data. I'm getting ready to release it soon. I was thinking about posting it in your group on Facebook. Right now, our polling shows that currently about 42% of short-term rental management companies and vacation rental agencies in North America or have just gotten out of a lawsuit in the past year. And that's a very high number. And I think that it goes to what you just said, and it's stressful. I got a message today from somebody who said that they'd seen me speak at a conference a year ago on safety, and they watched my posts in some of your groups, and that something safety-wise had come up at a meeting down in San Antonio, Texas the other night, and my name got brought up, and they were talking about safety, and I was like, well, that's cool. But what was really interesting was her thoughts, and it's what you just said. She goes, I see your posts, and I only read half of them because it stresses me out to think about safety. And it's really hard, but think about it. Every aspect of our lives in a commercial endeavor involves safety requirements, except for short-term rentals. You go into a hotel, even when you go into the donut shop, they've got commercial inspections that they've had to do to make sure you're safe. I flew down to Ohio recently to do some safety inspections. I'm looking out the window of the airplane, and they're putting chocks underneath the luggage cart, which is on a flat tarmac. I don't even know how that thing could roll, but they're doing that. And while I was waiting for my luggage, I talked to the guy for a second. I'm like, why do they have you guys put those chocks underneath the wheels? He goes, well, there was an accident and someone got rolled over. So everything is out there. It does that. And yet the number one place for accidents in North America, whether it's Mexico, Canada, US, number one place for accidents is in the home. And then we put people in homes that they're not familiar with in the short-term rental industry. And then we just expect that they're going to figure it all out and not get hurt, and that there shouldn't be anything there. And that's what's changing dramatically now. As unfortunately people are having what's happened to you, Heather, getting sued. And suddenly they're going, wow, I guess we didn't know that. We should have done that. Whoops. And it's time for everybody to start realizing that it needs to be addressed. It's not awful. It shouldn't be painful. It shouldn't be stressful. Once you get everything set, once you go through a checklist and address everything, it's easy to maintain to that level. It's like cleaning a house. It's like buying the house and furnishing it the first time. It's a pain in the butt. But once you get to that level where you need to be, that's where the fire extinguishers are. That's where the warning signs are. We don't have any carpets in here. They're going to be trip hazards. We've got the handrails on the stairs. We've got egress windows. Once you've done those things, it's just so easy to maintain after that, and you don't have to worry about it very much anymore.
So what are the top issues when you're doing property inspections, Justin? What are the top issues that you come across that people seem to miss?
Yeah, it's a balance. What's interesting is everyone always thinks about smoke detectors and fire, and that's very important. So we certainly I don't want to ever downplay that. But reality is less than 3% of all short-term rental accidents and incidents involve fire or death from fire. But they get the highest amount of recognition. Where the biggest issues are slips, trips, and falls. Number one, 83% of all insurance claims in 2018 for short-term rentals were from slips, trips, and falls. And I walk into properties and I see things like in an upstairs hallway that's a beautiful wooden floor, they've put down this big, thick, furry rug that looks great, but it's a massive trip hazard and there's no need for it there. And I'll ask the homeowners, I'm like, so why is this rug here? Oh, it's a beautiful rug. Well, that's great. But this is a trip hazard, and it doesn't even have the stuff underneath it, the grip that keeps it from sliding. Same thing with stairs. I continue to be blown away at how many people don't have handrails. I just worked with a claim with Proper Insurance recently, $350,000 claim from someone who fell downstairs that didn't have a $200 handrail. $200 would have fixed the problem. And as soon as I call up a lawyer now and say, hey, yeah, I got injured in this Airbnb or I got injured in this rental, first thing these lawyers are saying is, well, do you know if it was up to building code? Wait a minute, you fell down the stairs? I've been witness to these phone calls because I've helped some people and consulted with some people. And it's just, The lawyers know the questions to ask now. Oh, there's no handrail. I see there's no handrail in the ad. Yep, we got them. Boom, $350,000.
Yeah, that's this has me going back to all the photographs of every property that we have, and going back to owners and saying, I want you to install a handrail. It's simple. It's not a lot of money. Just do it.
65% of renters, and I like to reverse this number because I think it kind of really illustrates a little stronger. 65% of renters are under the age of 60 that rent homes. 65%. That means 35%. That's almost a third of all renters are over the age of 60. And the average person over the age of 60 is likely to have one slip, trip, or fall during a year. And that increases each year, 61, 62, all the way, into the 90s. And one of the number one causes of death in people over the age of 90 is they have a fall. It gets listed that they had a stroke or that they fractured a hip and then they got hospitalized, but it all started with a fall. And so one of the things that we need to remember is that while 65% of our renters may be a little less likely to slip, trip, and fall, there's a huge percentage of renters out there that could, and we need to address that and be aware of it.
Well, thinking of slips and falls, obviously we're in a winter location, Justin. So we rent our properties right the way through the winter. They are rural. They will get ploughed, but by a local ploughing company. So there is nobody that goes and clears the ice and the snow from decks and stairs. Yeah. How do we get around that? Because these places do not have caretakers that can go and clear snow for guests.
Yeah, you talk, speaking of lawsuits, I know of a company in Montana right now that's been working a lawsuit for 2 years from an incident like that. You gotta find a way to keep the snow cleared out. And I know that one of the things that they've done as a result of the lawsuit that they had with the injuries that they felt very comfortable with is they also at least advise the guests of a program or a schedule. They'll say that, hey, if there is an overnight snowstorm, please understand that the stairs and access to the building may not be shoveled or cleared to such and such time. And they prominently display that so the guest has had a clear warning. But to not leave that out there and to put the guest in a position where they show up at the door and go, all right, well, I can come back in a little bit, or can I call somebody? What can I do? To just leave it as the unknown is certainly a challenge that has led to some issues. So really good lighting. I've seen some rental companies where they actually leave a bucket of salt at the entryway, and they'll put it in the notice to the renters upon arrival. Hey, just so you know, there's a bucket of salt. We can't be there to constantly throw it down, but feel free to do it yourself when you arrive if you want to increase attraction and be able to get in there.
Yeah, I think that is what we do ask owners to provide: sand, gravel, shovel, salt, whatever is required. And the one thing we say is that on arrival, those steps have to be cleared. Yeah. So if it means that somebody has to go into the property at 7 o'clock at night because people are arriving at 8 o'clock, well then all well and good, they get in there at 7 o'clock. And
you bring up it's a slight shift of gears, but I want to touch quickly on your comment on rural. One of the lawsuits that I just saw recently, it's really interesting, and I've known about this for years and talked about it when I was a property manager, and that's emergency vehicle access. Mm-hmm. A lot of rural properties, you're already 12, 15 minutes from the nearest fire department or ambulance service. Add to that, especially in rural communities, their volunteer services. And making sure that the guests can get in touch with those emergency services and get a good, fast response is critical. This one particular lawsuit we saw was a gentleman who had had a heart attack, and he was the one who got the driving directions. They were sent to him through an app on his phone. And that's great, but he was the one having the heart attack. No one else knew the address to the property, and it wasn't posted anywhere. And so they were trying to get in touch with emergency services through a cell phone, had a very difficult time explaining where they were. But then the real issue happened is by the time they got there, and they estimate there was about an 8-minute delay in an emergency response as a result. When they got there, the ambulance actually couldn't get up the driveway to the rental because there was too many trees growing down over. And they also identified it didn't happen, but they identified even if there was a fire there, they couldn't. And this was a half-mile long driveway. So the ambulance crew had to actually carry the stretcher the half mile up the driveway. They worked with the renters. They got another truck in there. When you read this thing, it's pretty in-depth. But I've seen a lot of rental properties, and when I was just in Ohio, I saw this exact same thing. And we've even seen it with the wildfires that have happened out in California recently. Rural areas, you've got to pay attention to making sure emergency services can get there, because you can actually be held liable now if you're not preparing to allow emergency crews get to your property to service your guests. And if it's holding them up, that can be a severe problem. And I'm willing to bet that there's hundreds of thousands, and I'm using that lightly, knowing that there's how many millions of rentals in North America now. I'm willing to bet there are a lot out there where people haven't, they love the little romantic, the trees growing over leading in and the path, but they're not considering what happens when that volunteer fire department, who might even be in the next town helping another town out, gets that call and then has such a difficult time accessing the property to service the renters. So that's a really important one to start focusing on.
Yeah, it's a matter of stepping back, isn't it? Just, somebody has a medical emergency, but then stepping back, all the different steps to figure out how it all pans out from that emergency call.
When I meet with a new homeowner, I always tell them, imagine every scenario. What are the scenarios that are going to happen? You got a pool. All right. So what happens when a 4-year-old kid is coming to your pool? Can he not access the pool? Well, we have my grandkids are here all the time. The kids have never had a problem around the pool. That's your grandkids. They're familiar with it. I'm talking about the couple that's coming in from Chicago with their 4-year-old son that have never been exposed to a pool. Imagine that scenario. What happens if there's a fire? What happens if someone falls down the stairs? Have you talked to your insurance company? Have you talked to a lawyer to see what coverages and protections you have? Do you know what's going to happen if you are sued because there is an accident? Can they come after you personally? Are they going to come after your company? What ranges of protection you have? And it's amazing that, once again, a lot of us just look at our neighbors and go, hey, that guy's making a couple $100,000 a year on his Airbnb. I'm going to do the same thing. And they think that the first step is just putting the listing up and taking good pictures. And you really need to sit back and have these long conversations about everything, because people are going to use your rental completely different than you ever will. It's mind-blowing. And you watch, I'm sure you've seen this, Heather, you watch renters show up, and every week they all park a different way. Some of them pull straight in, some of them pull off to the side, and it's like, what prompts that? Why can't everybody just park the same way every week? And I hear this all the time. It's the same thing with how they're going to use the houses. They're all going to use it differently.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because I had a call from an owner saying, why do people keep parking on my septic bed? Because it's on the grass. And I said, well, is it marked? Well, no, they should know that. No, these people come from the city and condos where there are no septic beds. They probably have no, maybe they think it's an extra room.
Yeah, they have no idea.
Yeah. And we have, plenty of people who have no idea how to use a barbecue.
Yeah.
They don't know how to light a barbecue. They don't know about having to turn off the gas when they've finished. And often they just forget. So I think it's a really relevant point you make about, looking at your guests and seeing that, they have no knowledge of your location, the property, your area. One thing, sort of segueing out a little bit and just thinking about people coming to a property that they're not familiar with. And I was thinking about that at 3:00 this morning when I had to get up and put my dog outside. So I can get out of bed in the complete darkness. I can open the door. I can go along the hallway. I know exactly where everything is. And I know that if I take a step if I'm going through my living area, take a step to the left, I'm going to go down the stairs to the basement. I'm just going to fall down those stairs if I don't know they're there. So, you know, one thing that we did with all our properties was made sure that we had the battery lighting. You know, the lights that come on. When do they come on? Are they movement generated or?
You know, the ones that I really like, the newest ones, and they're very inexpensive on Amazon, are those Snap Power. Have you seen those? They're basically, you just stick it over the light switch. And they go around all the outlets now. Now they have the USB in them, but they automatically come on when it's dark, and then they go back out in the morning. But I mean, for the price, I just bought a new house, and every single outlet in the hallways and in the bathrooms, I put those Snap Power switches on. I think to do this whole 3-bedroom house is maybe $120. I mean, it's a bargain to get that kind of lighting put out throughout the house that's really nice.
Oh, I'll just let Ross in because it's 2:30. Hey, Ross. Oh, by the way, hi, Maria. Has anybody got any questions for Justin? We're talking about safety and, you know, obviously keeping our guests safe, but on the way to keeping, you know, we keep our guests safe, we're keeping us safe from liability as well. One of the things, Justin, that really got to me when I looked at when I was doing the safety course was the videos on dressers and people, the children climbing up onto a dresser, which often has a TV on the top of it, and then the whole thing coming over on top of them. That was, I think, out of the whole course, that was the one thing that really got to me. And I thought, now I'm going to talk to all my owners about this, because so many of them do have this. They have a high dresser, they put a TV on top of it. A mom comes along, picks up a toy off the floor, puts it on the dresser, and the next thing is the kid is trying to climb up on the dresser to pick the toy off, and then the whole thing comes over. And
furniture's up there as one of the top ones of accidents. I got 3 quick ones on that. One right now, I'm involved with supporting a case. I can't give you too many details, but I'll just tell you it's in the press. A 3-year-old girl climbed up on a bed in a condo, 4th floor condo in Hawaii. And when she went to climb up on the bed to look out the window to her parents and call to them down below, they were down at the pool, the bed was actually on wheels. The bed rolled out from under her and it forced her up, and she fell out the window and fell 4 stories down onto the ground. There's more detail. It happened in Maui, all that. It's a big lawsuit. It's a big mess. But that happened in a short-term rental. Why there was a bed with wheels right up next to the window, I have no idea. It's when you look at the whole scenario, it's just common sense, and you just wonder what someone was thinking. The other one is a big story that happened here in the States back just before the pandemic, and the pandemic actually squashed it out a bit, which was probably good. But a sheriff deputy out of Los Angeles went up and stayed in Lake Tahoe, and he accidentally left his gun and badge behind in a dresser drawer. And within 3 minutes of arrival of the next guests, their 7-year-old son found the gun in the dresser drawer. Now, from a safety point of view, what I want to highlight here is, you know, the kid said, "Hey, Dad, I found a gun. Nothing bad happened." But it just so much illustrates what the heck within 3 minutes of arrival is this kid doing going through a drawer? And they interviewed the father, and the father even said that. "We run Airbnbs all the time. The first thing my kids do is they go through everything." And this is a huge message to put out there to people, to remember that. People show up with their kids, they're exhausted, they've been driving 8 hours. The kids just like to explore, they're curious. I used to do the same thing when I was a kid. I was probably terrible. I probably would have found the gun and all the change under the bed. And then the third one is beds. We've seen a lot of incidences in beds and beds collapsing. It's kind of a horrible reference, and I don't mean it in any other way, but it's basically a human taco is what they call it. And we saw an incident in the Outer Banks recently where a California king-size bed collapsed with an older couple in it. And the support brackets, no one had checked them. If you had checked those support brackets, it was clear that they had been broken. The bed actually folded and pushed the two renters together. They couldn't move. They couldn't get out. You'd think that they could get out of the bed, but the compression on the tightness of it actually folded the mattress and squeezed them in there. And it was almost 4 hours before someone discovered them because they were all muffled in there. It was really a messy situation. So furniture inspections, whether it's checking to make sure they're not going to tip over, that you're getting in and looking underneath them. Same thing with those, and you saw this in the course, even those pull-out sleeper sofas. I mean, the first renter always folds it the wrong way, and then it's bent, and then everyone has a hard time. You would not believe, I'm willing to bet that at least over the history of short-term rentals, at least 100 people have lost fingers and digits from those couches folding in properly. So a lot of different things to look at with your furniture.
Yeah, I agree with you on those folding beds, because some of them with the metal mechanisms, you've got to know what you're doing when you pull them out. And here we are saying to rental guests, just, it's a fold out bed. That's it. No instructions, no warnings, just use it if you want. And then, so while we're talking about beds, can we go on to bunk beds?
Yeah. Who in this group's got bunk beds? Anybody?
We've got bunk beds in numerous properties.
Maria, you've got a bunk bed? No. No. I will tell you, in my personal opinion, just get rid of them if you have them. There's just too much potential for liability with those. First off, the cleaners hate making them. I've never met a cleaner who's been excited. Oh, I can't wait to make the bunk beds. Number two is a lot of people now are doing these shabby chic, cool built-in bunk beds, and they don't realize that in both the US and Canada, the standards are that you're supposed to have a safety rail all the way around the bunk bed that's at least 5.5 inches above the mattress, and that keeps a child from falling out while they're sleeping. Well, it's one thing when they're at home and they get used to the bunk bed, maybe they fall out that first night or two and then they're good. When people are going on vacation, of course a kid wants to stay in a bunk bed. I mean, that's the excitement, is to get to go do that. And that's why bunk bed accidents are so high in short-term rentals, is you've got these kids that aren't used to sleeping in them that then sleep in them and then they fall out. The worst thing that we've been seeing recently, there was an incident that just happened in Australia, is people are putting bunk beds in the same room with a ceiling fan, which, I mean, that's like leaving the kid in the room with a loaded gun. It's ridiculous. And some of the lacerations of this poor girl on her face from the ceiling fan, because it was spinning right next. I mean, she just had to lean about 6 inches outside of the bed down to her brother, and whack, got hit in the face. So if you're going to have bunk beds, be smart and don't have ceiling fans in the same room as the bunk beds.
Yeah, I don't think we have one property now. This property, and I've mentioned this one before, Justin, it is water access only. So to get there, thinking emergency services. The emergency services can only go in by helicopter, really. Certainly by boat, because it's 15 minutes by boat from the marina, which is 30 minutes from the nearest town. So that's number one. Secondly, and I'm just looking at a picture of the triple bunk beds.
Oh boy.
Oh my God. I'm looking at them now. We've had this property for 10 years. And it's got triple bunk beds, and I've never really looked at them from the time I first went. It's got triple bunk beds with probably an 8-foot ladder to get to the top bunk.
That's not a good one. Is it Shireen? Shireen made the comment here, holy cow, how can we ever be safe? I don't know if you were here at the beginning, but you can. Everything I've just talked about, most of it's, I mean, and I appreciate, and obviously we like that you've taken the course and you can see the course. A lot of it is kind of common sense, and a lot of it's just stepping back and just going, all right, I know I'm okay with this, but where could a potential problem be with this? And that's where it happens. I tell the story all the time when it comes to safety. A really good friend of mine was a roofer. He was a roofer for 27 years. And 2 years ago, he fell off of a roof. He's paralyzed from the waist down. It was the one day in his 27 years, he was near retirement, one day that he just needed to fix one shingle. It was just a really quick job, and he didn't put on a safety harness or do anything he was supposed to do. And he knows what I do, and he says this to me all the time, just make sure you pass the message on. 27 years, I always said, I've never fallen off a roof. I've always been safe. Nothing's ever happened to me until it did. And that's almost like a t-shirt that I want to make up for our industry, because I hear this from so many people. Well, we've never had a runner fall down the stairs, and we don't have a handrail. And my grandmother built this house, and my kids grew up in it. My grandchildren have grown up in it. Nobody's ever fallen out of a bunk bed or off the balcony until they did. And it will happen. Safety incidents catch up with everybody who doesn't address it. And to have the attitude that everything's fine and it's never happened to me before is one of the most dangerous ways to look at safety when it comes to short-term rentals.
So, Justin, I know that you did say, yeah, we can be safe, and I can appreciate that we all need to quit being so scared, but it is kind of overwhelming. So do you have like a checklist somewhere of things like how close is the ceiling fan to a bunk bed? You know, that should be a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And once you think about it, it is, but I'm sure there's dozens of things that I never will cross my mind until
you do.
Problem.
Yeah, there's about a 47-point checklist that's we've put together for short-term rentals. Now that includes pools and hot tubs as well. So and it includes stuff for waterfront if you have kayaks. So when you really get down to the core of it, the one the big stuff that's gonna destroy you is death in a rental. And those are 8 items that you need to have addressed. And we focus on the 8 core, what I refer to as life safety things. That's providing first aid kits, fire extinguishers, smoke alarms, CO alarms, emergency safety cards, which give information on where the property is. And believe it or not, address markers and address identification, which kind of leads into what I talked to you about before with access for emergency vehicles to the property. That's all the life safety stuff. But then the accident prevention type stuff or injury prevention side of the list, we get into that. You would think it could go on forever. It doesn't, but there are some crazy things on that list that most people don't think of. A big one, Shireen, is extension cords. And I talk to people all the time. Electrical fires are number 2 cause of fires in short-term rentals after cooking fires. Cooking fires, everyone knows, get a fire extinguisher in the kitchen. It's pretty common sense. But people often overlook the number 2, which is electrical. And a lot of the electrical fires aren't caused by the renters. Sometimes they are because the renters bring something that overloads a circuit that wasn't planned for. A lot of them are caused by extension cords. And so I talk to people a lot about going through your short-term rental and saying, hey, how long has this extension cord been here? Because if it's been there longer than 6 months, it's time to get an electrician in and put the right cord in. And the big one that causes electrical fires is they'll actually run extension cords. A lot of people will feed them underneath the carpet. I mean, you might as well just take a match and light the house on fire now, because people walking over the carpet wears down the extension cord, it shorts out and then catches the carpet on fire. I know of 2 just in the past week. And so those are type of issues that we get into on our checklist that are kind of, you would think common sense, but just people don't think about it because it's so easy to go to the hardware store and spend $15 and buy extension cords versus, $80 an hour for an electrician to solve the problem. But it's not an aggressive list. It's mostly stuff that makes sense. Inspect your chimneys annually if you have a wood smoke. Inspect the boiler. If you have gas, check and inspect the gas. Make sure the grill's a certain number of feet away from the house so you're not having grill fires and it has a good overhead clearance. So if you go through that list and do what we have, and everybody who's on it, how many we got on here? Like 9, 10 people? Heather, I'm going to be real generous today. Everybody who's on here, I'll set you up with a free safety certification. Just email me and I'll let you do a free safety certification at your rental property. So just email me at safety@breezeway.io. It's a $69 safety certification. If you don't pass, I'm not going to tell anybody, but just go through it. Just go through the motions just so that you can do that. So when you email me, just say that I mentioned it here, and I'll give you a review. And I'll help you do the list.
What's that email address? Safety@breezeway.io. Breezeway is
It's a software company. I'm the only employee at the company, which is growing very fast. It has nothing to do with software. I don't know a dit from a dot, but that's why it's the .io address.
So
Okay, that's wonderful, Justin. Thank you so much for that.
that is awesome. Thank you. Can I circle back around to extension cords for just a second?
Yeah.
So the bedside lamp that doesn't reach the outlet by 1 foot.
Yeah.
I don't have an extension cord. What do?
You need to
have
work.
the whole lamp rewired.
You could put a longer cord on the lamp. That's a great idea. Very inexpensive. I bet you. I'm just looking at how straight the clock is on the wall behind you, Shreen, and I'm betting you could go to Home Depot and follow a YouTube video and learn how to put a longer cord on, or even Mike will come help you.
Okay.
But
I'm in the trailer, so ignore the background.
But yeah, you can add a longer cord onto a lamp, or you want to put an outlet in, because that you may use it for the lamp, but the renter who shows up, we had a fire 2 or 3 weeks ago. Renter showed up that has difficult, and I forget what the machine is called, but he sleep apnea, and he brought that big machine, and it actually overpowered and caught the extension cord on fire. Those extension cords, some of them, they're all rated for different amounts. I'm going to see how quick Mike or Heather throw this one up there, but on Amazon, again, they actually have safety extension cords now that will turn off if they get too hot. They're like $15. So that could be a short-term solution until you can get that hardwired in, but you just never know what the renter's going to go, I don't need that lamp, and then they plug something in that shouldn't be plugged into it.
I hope you're onto that, Mike.
Plug into a power strip. I'm thinking through my rental.
Yeah, power strips can also be dangerous. I've got some great videos from when I was a firefighter of, you plug too many things into a power strip. It's just the amount of the load that gets on those and not knowing. It's a little bit better because the AWG, or the strength of that wire, might be 14 versus 18. And when you go into any like Home Depot or Lowe's, if you ever stand back and look, there's about 50,000 choices of extension cords and different ratings for all of those. Most people, and I did this with my mom recently, most people go, oh, well, that one's only $3. Let's get that one. And it's like, no, that's the cheapest one. That's the one that is going to catch on fire, Mom. No, get this thicker one over here. And you'll see, air conditioning. I always see that as an extension cord too. People use a cord that's too small, higher number, 22 AWG. It's like, you can't use a 22 AWG extension cord designed for a lamp to run an air conditioner. You got to get a 10 or a 12. So knowing that type of stuff is really important.
Right.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Unfortunately, it doesn't rule out the spurious lawsuits you might get. You can do your very best, but it sounds like in your case, Heather, it's totally, a flawed case. So I think we're all
but all it needed, though, Richard, was to have a loose stone somewhere. The fact that we had done everything and it was a completely safe property, the owner was not negligent in any way, means that the insurance companies will just go ahead and do their thing between them.
Oh, absolutely. But even if we implement all the safety measures we can, which I've been surprised with our places in Canada. I mean, we always have a yearly electrical inspection of all outlets, anything electrical. We get a company in, and people said to me, why'd you do that? And I feel we all have a care of duty. We have our fires checked every year and make sure that the CO2 shut-off is functioning properly. But I still think we are all, by human nature, exposed to people who are just looking to make a fast buck.
Yeah. One of the...
Unfortunately,
I have two comments on that, Richard. One, the good news is, and I can tell you from being in a courtroom as an expert witness, I've seen it go both ways now. when you have a property manager who goes, Your Honor, we had no idea that we were supposed to do this. We did not know that we were supposed to have CO alarms on every floor of the house, and that's why this person, got CO poisoning. If we had known, we would have done it. I will tell you, the first response out of that judge's mouth was like, excuse me, you're a professional in this industry and you didn't know that? They don't go for that. But what they do go for is the host that says, Your Honor, I know that we're supposed to have CO alarms in the house. We check our smoke CO alarms every month, and we've tested them. I've personally tested that. I don't know why that one didn't go off when it was supposed to, but I want to assure you, and we have records, here's our inspection report of all the times that we've done it. The judge went a whole lot easier on that case and said, well, obviously this property manager wasn't trying to be negligent. They obviously had a program in place and an accident still happened. The limit to exposure on that was reduced severely, and the claim was reduced severely in that instance. So that is the good news on that side of things. But the other side of things, when it comes to doing, all these inspections and the electrical inspections and the fireplace inspections and all that type of stuff, make sure you keep good records of that, because that is very supportive and helpful as you move forward.
We've always encouraged our owners, particularly the owners with hot tubs, because we've had a number of complaints about hot tub folliculitis, which is the skin irritation that can be caused by, usually it's overuse of a hot tub. So number one, every home with a hot tub has clear instructions on the use of it, and the fact that they should not use it if under certain conditions, if the water level's gone down, if there's any odor from it, if there's any discoloration in the water. But we also encourage record keeping of every time the chemical balance is checked, what has been added, when the water was last changed. And on each changeover, there is a sheet completed by the person who checks that tub, and they put down what the pH balance is, what the alkalinity is, how they've adjusted it, and then they sign to say that balance was correct at the time they left the property.
Yep.
So that's not going to stop somebody from getting hot tub folliculitis if they overuse the hot tub and let their kids run in and out, and then on the last day they all dive in and it's stinky and murky. But the property owner or manager has done their due diligence in the checking process. You agree with that one?
Yeah,
Justin?
there was Legionnaire's disease that hit a bunch of people at some short-term rentals in North Carolina last year. And I will tell you, most property managers now have turned to hiring an outside company that's insured, licensed, and inspected to do those. I'm not a property manager anymore, but when I was, I required that. I said, no way. We're not putting chemicals in, and neither are the homeowner. You just don't know how much they're going to put in, or if they're going to forget 1 week. Or, I mean, I still go to rental properties where I see that they've got the cleaner doing it, and the cleaner's just doing what they're told off of a little checklist. Add 1 tablespoon of chlorine, add this. They don't know what they're doing. They're just doing what's written down. And you can get yourself into a whole boatload of trouble with any of those chemicals in pools and hot tubs.
I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. But when you've got a property that is 50 kilometers from the nearest store that does checks, it's just not going to happen. It's not. And this is.
That's a great point. I mean, that's a very good point. I don't carry an iron fist when it comes to safety. I'm passionate about safety. I'm very much focused on that there's a solution to everything. And if you can't do that because of the area where it is, then you just need to come up with a plan that's going to make sense. When I was in Ohio last month, 2 of the bedrooms in this particular short-term rental were in a basement. Neither one of them had windows. You heard me refer to this yesterday, and I say this all the time. I mean, it's a coffin. It was a coffin. Hair renters, go down these stairs into here, and if there's ever a fire, just know that we're going to be able to get what's left of you out of here pretty easy, because you are trapped in this room. And the homeowner said, I need these 2 extra bedrooms to generate enough income on the house. And I get that. That's why you're renting your house out. Not a person on here is renting out their house because they want the public to see what a cool place they have. If it was, they'd just stay there themselves or let it empty. Everyone's renting their house to generate income. And so what can we come up with as a solution? He did not want to lose those rooms. He's not going to build new rooms outside. Well, International Building Code says if a bedroom doesn't have egress windows, it needs to have fire sprinklers. And if it has fire sprinklers, it can do that. Well, sprinkling a house costs $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. That's really expensive. However, they're now starting to come out with products. There's 2 companies out there that now make closet fire sprinkler systems. They're designed to fit through any doorway in a house, and the tank is 250 gallons, and it has a built-in pump, and all you have to do is stick it in the closet, and the sprinkler head actually sticks through the wall out of the side of the room, and it will spray sideways. Problem solved, $1,200. And if you look at it from the point of view of rent, each of those bedrooms are going to generate him about $20,000 a year in additional income. To invest $1,200 in putting in a fire sprinkler system, he now has that out there. So it's not perfect, but at least now that you're drawing attention to it, it's highlighted. And we didn't go into it with an iron fist and say, absolutely not, you can't have those 2 bedrooms or coffins. We now have an inexpensive solution that addresses the problem and makes it so it's still profitable for them. And I think that's the case with almost everything when it comes to safety.
I'd like to come back with another something you said earlier about the life-saving things, and you mentioned first aid kits.
Yeah.
Because I'm often asked about that when I'm going to properties, and the owner will say, if I have a first aid kit, do I have to check it at the end of every rental and see how many?
You're gonna hit my favorite topic up on the shelf.
I saw these one-off ones that you mentioned, I think, in the course, and I was fascinated by them.
So this first aid kit right here, I got it at Walmart. They were, I believe, I ordered it in bulk. I ordered 50 of them, and I think the price came down to like $3.90 a piece. They've got 85 items in it. And if you notice the label on there, you've probably never heard of Dwell Safe. Dwell Safe is the name of the safety company I started that actually we sold to Breezeway. I went on Vistaprint.com and I designed this sticker. I designed it to be the same size as the sticker on this Walmart first aid kit. And now that I've showed this, I've had this one for a couple of years, but I've had a bunch of other ones out there. We hand these out. But now I encourage, and I see a lot of property management companies that just give them to the guest. This is yours. And so they'll have the name of their rental on it with a picture. The total investment in this first aid kit with the sticker, and I just peeled off the sticker that was on there after I designed it on Vistaprint. The total investment in this first aid kit's $4.10. Give it to the guest. It's great marketing material. And I hear from people all the time that still say how awesome this is, that they get guests that, they went to a soccer game, their kid got injured, they pulled this out and they went, oh, that was a great vacation. They're talking about it with friends, and then they get a booking out of it. So these things are actually marketing tools as well as safety devices. So yeah, give the renters a first aid kit, then you don't have to check it.
I love that. I love it. Because,
just a quick alternate on that one. Sorry, I was listening in. So with those first aid kits, Justin, if you can just hold up that kit up again. What I did at one of my properties is, because you never know what's been used or not. And what you can do is you can get very easily breakable zip ties. We use this on fire trucks all the time. And essentially, once you've done the inventory, you put these very easy, and it has to be the easy tearaway zip ties. You can't use your regular ones. You've got to use pair of shears to get off. But yeah, if you have one of those little zip ties, as soon as that zip tie is broken and that's part of your cleaner's checklist, you just pop it through that little hole right there. And then it's been broken. Somebody's been in there. So, the cleaner then goes in and checks the inventory. And that's more if you have like a bigger first aid kit. But you also have to be conscious of your expiry dates as well.
That's the point I like to make, is give this one to the guest to take home. But I like to still say put a trauma kit in the laundry room that has what you said, Mike. That's got the heavy duty bandages, something more serious, especially for a property that's in a rural location or an ambulance response time. I mean, there's some bandages in here, but they're not serious if someone gets a really bad laceration. So have like a more serious trauma kit that has the wire ties on it, like you just said, or the, you know, the breakable thing that's in the laundry room that's got the heavy duty stuff that might be beyond what's in this basic Band-Aids and, you know, Q-tips.
I'd also like to add to that, for any properties that are pet friendly, that you can also get a pet first aid kit. I have one. I've actually used it, and it's if you're going to accept pets, then I think it's important that you also have a safety kit for them too.
They're doing CBD for pets now, Heather. It's crazy. You can do anything for your dog.
Yeah, well, I'm just all for that. Just all for if you're pet friendly, actually welcoming those pets, not just tolerating them, and welcoming them makes looking after their health and well-being not as important as your two-legged guests, but for some people it is. So it's just worthwhile thinking about as well. So we're 4 minutes before the top of the hour. So, you know, I'd really like to thank you, Justin, for coming along and sharing your insights. Thank you so much for offering the safety. What did you call it?
It's a commitment to safety certification program, and if you pass it, we've got a sticker that you can put in your rental and register that your property's been committed to safety, and you can advertise with it. We've got a lot of these out. We've got thousands of properties now we've certified, and I'm starting to see more and more of our customers on Airbnb and VRBO that are advertising that they're committed to safety, and people are actually seeing an increase in uptick in marketing too when it comes to choosing houses. We know that guests want a safe home, and they're choosing a safer home sometimes over a house that might have some other amenities that aren't showing that they're safe. So,
Well, really appreciate you offering that. I hope you guys all take Justin up on that one.
So the course that Justin has very kindly offered, does that have to be conducted within your property? Because I'm not even in the same country as my property. So do you need to physically be in your property, Justin, or?
Somebody physically has to go through and do the inspection. A lot of our customers use their cleaner or property manager. It's very user friendly. I have an 11-year-old daughter. I actually designed it so that she could go through and do an inspection. And I actually, for the first time the other day, we were pretty excited. We had a customer, and I think not supposed to get into asking ages and everything, but she kind of hinted towards it, and we finally found out she was 92 years old and walked through and did the inspection. So it's designed really for any age level or capacity to do it. So your cleaner, your maintenance guy, whatever, could do it for you as well.
And can you just briefly talk about the short-term rental safety inspector course that I did?
So two separate products we have at Breezeway. One is a self-inspection for homeowners, and that's what I've offered to all of you guys to do. It's a checklist through our app. You go through and it prompts you to take pictures. We review the pictures as well as the pictures that are on your listing, and evaluate the property. And you're basically the one saying, hey, I've done a bunch of things here and it's safer than most. And we'll say, yeah, you're committed to safety. And then what we also have is our short-term rental safety inspector course. And that's designed for property managers or people who are in the industry that are going to inspect more than one home and want to go out there and do these type of inspections, some for owner acquisition, and some just to prevent liability. We're working with some of the biggest property management companies in the US and Canada right now that are endorsing this and are starting to do it. And it's about 4 or 5 hours. Did it take you, Heather?
Yes. I got very immersed in it, and I guess it was about 4 or 5 hours. About
4 or 5 hours, and then you take an exam at the end, and if you pass it, we certify you. And I've got yours is actually ordered, Heather. It's coming soon, but you get an ID card that you're a short-term rental safety inspector, and you get a nice certificate. I don't have one handy right now, and it's good for a year. And then we'll just do a quick competency and review with you at the end of the year. So if you want to do that course, you can reach out to me as well. It's a much more in-depth review of safety than what you do with just the self-inspections.
Yeah, and what's the cost of that?
Right now it's $100. It's going to go up dramatically soon. I think you mentioned you found a much
Yes.
higher value in it. We're just trying to penetrate the market and get more people certified in doing these type of inspections. So it's $100 to do the course right now, which I think you'll agree was pretty fair.
I think so, and I know that it's going to stand us out from the competition in our area, that we are going to have this, on our site and on our properties, and we are the only ones, as I currently know, in Ontario that's able to offer a safety inspection.
Yep.
Mike?
Yeah, well, that's great. Well, Jason, that's been absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much.
Justin.
Sorry.
I'm gonna paint it on the ceiling up above my head.
You have to shave your head.
Yeah.
Sorry, Justin. Yeah, so thank you so much for being with us today. Really appreciate it, and especially at the last minute. Before we wrap up, as many of you know, we are promoting this week a great tool that we've talked about on Office Hours many times, ConvertBox. It is they are wrapping up their lifetime one payment offer at the end of this month, is what we've heard. And I really strongly advise, if you haven't taken the chance to look at it yet. Thank you, Justin. Yeah. If you haven't had the chance to take a look at it yet, I put the link. Actually, I'll paste it again so you can see it a bit more clearly. Head over and check out ConvertBox. If you guys have any questions whatsoever between now and the end of next week, just reach out to me, ask me any questions you like. But for a $400 investment, and I have a feeling this is going to be around $100 a month once they switch to a monthly plan, it's going to be huge savings. I mean, if any of you who signed up for the Formula Club originally as a lifetime member, you know how much value you've got out of that over the last 4 years, and you never have to pay for anything else. So yeah, getting in on this stuff early is really, really advisable. If you go through and you click through our link, it is an affiliate link for us, so we really appreciate that. It helps us, gives us a little bit of a commission on the sale, and as well as that, if you go through our affiliate link, we're including an action plan focused on getting you set up and going with ConvertBox. Jason is actually recording that this evening and should have it ready in the next few days. As Formula Club members, all of you, you're going to have access to that anyway. So that's going to be part of the Formula Club as of next week. Yeah, so hopefully we'll see more of you guys sign up, and again, it's a 30-day money back guarantee. So if you feel it doesn't work out for you, then you can always just ask for the money back before the end of November.
And just an endorsement.
I have a question.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll just say just endorsement because we used it within our company last year, and it really increased our conversions. So
can ConvertBox be? I mean, can you have more than one email address on it? Can you use it for more than just like one business entity? Or can I use it for my other business entity as well?
Yeah, so right now, so for the $395, that gives you a license for one website. So that allows you just to use it on the one. But then if you, I think they have a bump offer for $95, and I think that gives you unlimited, or it's either unlimited or it's 20. Actually, I can tell you. It's either unlimited or it's 20 additional licenses. And I've used it, I think I have it on about 6 different sites. So it really is, that really is a great deal, for an extra $95 to be able to have, on as many sites as you want. So right now it's $395, and then it gives you 50 sites, up to 50 sites, to get you the pro,
for an extra $100.
Yeah, for an extra $100. So yeah, it's been invaluable to us, and we're already seeing the benefits of using it. If you guys, as an example, if you head across to vacationrentalformula.com, just the regular website, or actually any page on the website right now, you'll see that we've got a pop-up. Pretty much we're slowly moving away from, we were using Thrive leads. We're moving away and moving everything across to ConvertBox right now. So you can actually see there's a pop-up there. I threw a video in there just to promote getting people interested in ConvertBox. So that gives you an idea of some of the things you can do. Yeah, it's just the power of it, more than just the simple opt-in. If you check out that link I shared, that you can actually read through, what's going to be included in the action plan as well, to give you an idea of what we're going to include in that training.
It's US dollars, Maria. Of
yes.
course. Yeah.
Okay, that's it for me. I got to go pick up my kids. I'm late.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Hope this was useful for you.
Talk again soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that replay from one of our office hour sessions, and if you would like to have access to these, you need to become a Formula Club member. As a Formula Club member, you have not only access to the team at Vacation Rental Formula for 1 hour every week, but you will also get access to all of the replays, so you have a full library of all of these office hour sessions where we have great conversations about different aspects of the vacation rental business, as well as bringing in special guests from time to time. As a Formula Club member, you also have access to our library of training materials to help you and your vacation rental business to achieve that next level of success. If you are interested in becoming a Formula Club member, head across to vacationrentalformula.com/join and get signed up. Thanks very much. Hope you enjoyed this, and be sure to leave comments, subscribe, and follow, and we will see you on the next one.